Here you are, you're involved in this big legislative session, your first 100 days, and just as you near the first 100 days, a tornado. And you see what happened. How did that affect you?
You know, that's one of those moments that my dad actually talked to me about as I was going through the months leading up to taking office after the campaign was over. Is my dad was very good about not giving advice unless I asked for it, except on this topic. It's probably one of the one places that he gave me some unsolicited advice, and that was make sure you have a good team in place, because there are going to be things that come up that you can never plan for. And those will be the moments where you need to make sure that the people around you are prepared to help address the needs of the people. And having a good ADAM director in place that understands the process, the needs, the assistance that people are going to need on day 1, day 10, and day 100, because they're going to be very different and it's going to be a long process. So be ready. And so that was one of those big pieces of advice. But personally, it impacts you in a way that is very different than anything else that you do as governor, at least from my perspective in the first 100 days. Particularly when it hits your hometown. I grew up in Little Rock. The places, the businesses, the restaurants, the churches, places that we go in and out of casually were completely destroyed. And seeing that and walking through and hearing the stories of people huddled up in their homes, my own family huddled in a closet under the stairs about a quarter mile from where the storm hit. It just hits differently. And our biggest thing was we have to take care of the people of Arkansas. We'll deal with all of the paperwork and all of the other details after we make sure, one, people are okay and that they're getting the most basic things that they need. You get all the politics out of the way, all of the partisanship out of the way, and you really just focus on what does this person need and how can I get that to them as quick as possible? And that's what our team tried to do. I'm really proud of how we were able, I think, to bring people from the local, the state, and the federal government together to really address the needs of the people of this state.
Talk about putting partisanship out of the way. How's the response been from the Biden administration, which you're on the other side of that fence? How's that response been?
President Biden and his team have been incredibly helpful. Everything that we have asked for, not only have they gotten to us, but they've done so very quickly, and could not be more grateful for their partnership in this process and the way that they've helped Arkansas in its time of need.
Now, let's get to the legislature. They're good about giving schools all across Arkansas a letter grade as to how they're performing. Actually, it's a computer program at the University of Arkansas, but it was the legislature that came up with that idea. How would you grade them on this first legislative session for you?
Honestly, I would give the legislature an A+. I came in with 4 big priorities that I wanted us to accomplish and bring about transformational legislation to address. And we delivered on all 4 of those big priorities. Arkansas Learns Act, really changing the future of education in the state of Arkansas to benefit every single Arkansas student, making sure every child in our state has access to a quality education, while also investing heavily in the amazing hard working teachers that we have in the state. Going from 48th in the country to being in the top 5 for teacher pay overnight is a big deal for a small state like Arkansas. And so working in partnership and in tandem with the legislature to get that done was incredible. We also passed criminal justice reform to make sure those violent repeat offenders are not back out in the community. At the same time, focusing on some of the rehabilitation efforts that we know work and provide good results for those that can be helped. We have invested heavily in those areas, building a new prison, addressing the shortage that we have. These are things that I feel like the can has been kicked down the road for so long, and we really saw the legislature come together, work with the executive branch, and deliver for the people of Arkansas. Had an amazing relationship with Speaker Shepherd, President Hester. We worked very closely together, and so, does that mean it was perfect? Absolutely not. Does that mean that we didn't have, our fair of hiccups and shakeups along the way? You bet. But I think that what we were able to ultimately deliver is really going to bring about the change that most of us ran on, and that, frankly, I think the people of Arkansas were demanding.
Well, your legislature and your session did produce protests over education, over the bathroom bill, over drag shows. How much did that bother you?
I try not to let the critics drown out the amazing amount of support that we heard from all over the state. Certainly, anytime you're implementing change or new things, you're going to hear criticism and questions from people across the state, and certainly have no problem with that. I think I've handled my fair share of criticism in the last several years. At the same time, we've also heard from thousands upon thousands of Arkansans who wanted to see the things that we were able to implement. If they didn't, frankly, I wouldn't be sitting here, because I campaigned on these issues and these topics for over 2 years, going to all 75 counties in Arkansas, hosting over 100 public events, talking directly to the people of Arkansas, getting their feedback. And I won overwhelmingly for a first-time candidate here in this state, meaning that message was resonating. And then we were able to work with the legislature to deliver on those campaign promises.
Is there anything that you slap your forehead after the first 100 days and go, golly, I wish I'd done what?
I think if there was anything that I would maybe do a little differently, is every once in a while, take a breath and slow down to soak it all in, because you're moving so fast, so quickly, and you've got this to-do list of things you want to make sure that we get done in this first 100 days. And I'm proud of the fact we were able to do that and accomplish so much. But at the same time, I think it's good to slow down and appreciate the little moments a little more. So that'll be my advice to myself over the next 8 years.
Speaking of advice, is there any day when the governor, your father, called you and said, what are you doing?
Not yet, but I won't be surprised if it happens. It more likely will be less about my governing style, maybe more about my parenting style. So I could see him questioning a couple of those moments here and there. But, my dad is an amazing resource to have. I'm unbelievably blessed and lucky to have parents I can call on who have walked through this process, dealt with some of the challenges that are in front of us, and they also make for pretty good free babysitters too. So I am more than happy to let them step in as grandparents anytime they want.
Oh, I love them. I want to go back to an Arkansas Women's Commission report under Asa Hutchinson a year ago, 2022, when they released this report. And they talked to working women. And the number one issue that comes back over and over again, and you as a mother, a working woman, would identify with it: childcare, grants for childcare, places of business that will watch their children while they work. Your thoughts on this?
I think it's one of the biggest challenges that a lot of women in the workforce have. At one point, I was spending more per month on childcare than I was on the mortgage for my home. It can be incredibly difficult to try to manage all things, which is why, as an administration, we've tried to implement some things that help ease some of that burden. Maternity leave for teachers was one of the things we really wanted to see and frankly fought to keep included in the Arkansas Learns legislation. I'm very proud of that. We also started a pilot program at DHS, a state program that allows new moms to bring their babies with them to work up until 6 months. It also allows parents of older kids, if a school has a cancellation or a closure at the last minute, to bring their kids with them to work with permission from their supervisor, and putting kind of child-friendly areas within the department. And so we're looking at ways that we can help ease that burden. I'm going to continue to push not just for legislation, but administrative changes, and let the state be a model, not just for what we can do in government, but what private business and industry can also do to help promote moms and help ease the burden. One of the other big pieces of Arkansas Learns was expanding access to pre-K. Now, I want to be very clear. I don't see that as childcare. I want that to actually be educational instruction and having quality pre-K programs, not just a daycare service, but actual instruction for kids to have a good foundation. We know how important reading is for kids. I know it's a personal passion for you. It is a big deal for me. It was one of the biggest aspects of the Arkansas Learns program, is making sure that every child in Arkansas can read at or above a third grade reading level. We know how critical that is for their future. If a child's not reading by that most basic benchmark, then we are setting them up for a lifetime of failure. So expanding that pre-K access, giving them a good foundation, that really has the ability not just to change their life, but change their entire community by building a skilled, qualified workforce of kids. Everything can be impacted from that one moment. And so putting a big focus on that's been really important for me.
Sing it, sister. I'm amening you right now, real quick.
Can I pass the offering plate then too?
Advice for Asa. He's already announced on ABC. We thought he was going to break the news next week with a live event in Bentonville, but anyway, apparently not. What advice would you give him? I mean, after all, you met your husband in a presidential campaign. You've always been involved in this. This is something that has really kind of been the passageway for this governorship in a lot of ways, but what advice would you give him?
You know, the advice I would give is the same advice I'd give to any candidate, no matter what office you're running for, and that's to be yourself. Because if there's anything that I have learned is that the electorate, no matter if you're in Arkansas or Iowa or South Carolina or California, they can spot a fraud real quick. So always be who God created you to be. That's not just good advice if you're running for office. That's just good life advice. Be yourself and go out and enjoy the process, because running for office is an amazing, fun, incredible opportunity. It also comes with great responsibility. So be exactly who God created you to be, and I don't think you can go wrong with that.
But Asa is kind of the Mr. Rogers of the Republican Party in an atmosphere that's like World Wrestling Federation. Does that kind of make you go, good luck?
I think anytime candidates are genuine and authentic, they're going to connect with voters. And so trying to be anything other than that, people are going to point that out very quickly. So you have to be an authentic candidate. That is what I think sells, no matter what type of candidate you are. I think you have to be yourself.
Okay, 100 days. We got to go, I know.
100 days and 10 minutes.
Have the kids picked their rooms? They know where they're going to go?
They have, but their favorite thing is being outside, and I love getting to watch them run around and,
brings back memories.
Wreak havoc on this place the same way that my brothers and I did.
Did you go down the stairs on a mattress?
I haven't yet, but my kids, when we were at the inauguration, had the chance to talk to Ginger Beebe, and she told my daughter Scarlett about it. So she is, that will happen at some point, I'm pretty sure.
Call us.
They have already slid down the rail about 1,000 times. So if we don't have a mattress, I can assure you there will be a creative way that they go down those stairs pretty regularly.